Hi, I'm Wayne Saline, and I'm running for the 74th District State Representative position as a Republican, and I'm here to answer questions.
So the first question we got is, how do you plan to curb spending?
It's going to take an analysis of each individual department. We can make some cuts in these departments. We don't need to make massive cuts. 1 or 2% will save a lot of money. We also need to look at agencies to eliminate redundancy. We don't need 2 or 3 departments doing the same job. We can eliminate those positions, take that money, and put it toward paying our bills.
How are you going to deal with Michael Madigan?
The best way to deal with Mike Madigan is to work across the aisle with the Democrats. Those Democrats are having the same issues in their districts as we're having in ours. We don't have jobs, we have overspending, and we need to make change. They realize that. We need to come together, work across the aisle, and put the pressure on the speaker to come forward and let us have votes.
Another question was, what are your views on gun control?
I support the Second Amendment. I would never vote in favor of anything that would take those rights away from the individuals. We need to support that to the fullest extent of the Constitution.
What are your thoughts on pensions?
Pensions is a difficult situation. We have people that have worked under a contract their entire life and are expecting to have a pension payment coming to them for the rest of their life. They've planned for this their whole life, so we need to come up with a solution to funding that. What we need to do moving forward is establish a line in the sand where new hires will be under a different pension program, but we need to make these cuts that I spoke of earlier, take that money and put it toward funding those pensions because those people worked under that contract and they deserve that money. So we need to find a solution, but we need to fund those programs.
Next question is, how do you create jobs in Illinois?
There's 3 things that we need to do. Number 1 is we need to change our regulations. We are so over-regulated that we cannot compete with our surrounding states. It takes a year and a half to 2 years longer to go through the process of getting the permits in the state of Illinois to do the same business that we can do in Iowa. Here in the 74th, we are so close to Iowa that people are just picking up and moving and then coming over here and doing the work and taking that revenue back to the state of Iowa. We need to change that. We need to regulate competitively so we can compete for these jobs and get these people coming back. We need to change workman's comp. From a business standpoint, we have the worst workman's comp laws in the country, not just in the surrounding area, but in the country. We need to be competitive in that. And we also need to work on liability, the unemployment liability insurance. That's killing us as well. Those 3 things are driving our business costs to a point where we can't compete with surrounding states, and we've got to change those.
One question from email was, do you support wind energy development?
I would support any alternative energy source as long as it's a stand on its own project. We cannot continue to subsidize to the point where it's costing us money. If it's a success on its own, I would support that, but we cannot continue to subsidize to the point where it's costing more than what it's worth. But alternative energy is a source we should continue to cultivate and use as best we can.
How are you, as a farmer, but more so as a legislator, going to help ag in Illinois?
Illinois has the number 1 industry is agriculture, and we have to do everything we can to support that. We have commodities that we grow here, livestock, grain. We have to find a way to transport that. We are falling apart infrastructure-wise. Our bridges and roads are crumbling, and that puts us at a competitive disadvantage because we can't transport our products. We need to get a capital bill that will allow us to fund projects, and we need to make sure that the motor fuel tax gets left in the motor fuel tax department so that that money is used the way it's supposed to be. I think we need to be able to become more competitive in our bidding process so that we can get more projects done with the same amount of money. But we've got to get a capital fund and we've got to leave the money in the motor fuel tax so we can fix our infrastructure so we can be competitive on exporting our product.
A lot of local school districts are facing a crunch in their budgets. What will you do to support education?
One thing we really need to look at, and I've been an advocate for a long time during my time on the county board, unfunded mandates. We have got to get rid of unfunded mandates. Those are killing the ability for districts to make local decisions and pay for what they think is necessary in their area. We need to allow local control and eliminate those unfunded mandates. We also need to come up with a different design or structure on how we distribute money from the state of Illinois. I know it'll be difficult. Suburban School districts have more money because their property values are way higher, so they're just getting way more money. And they have the ability to put more money into each student than what we have as a downstate. We are going to have to come up with something I call means testing. I know it'll be difficult, but it's something I think we should look at. We also are going to have to face the reality that I think consolidation is going to be necessary as we move forward, because our population is continuing to shrink here in the state of Illinois, and particularly in the rural areas. We have to become competitive in that nature so that we can fund these schools properly and allow these children to have the best education that we can provide.
So one question that we got was, what makes you stand out from your competition?
Well, we can go back to my days on the county board. My experience shows that I stand out because I've worked on the county board. I was there for 11 years. 9 of those years I was the finance chairman. I was able to make cuts across the board so we had a balanced budget all 9 of those years. I worked with a partisan county board and got those things accomplished. I was able to work across the aisle. I was appointed to that position 4 different times, twice by Republicans and twice by Democrats. That means I was able to work with them. Does that mean I caved into them? No, because if I did, we would have still been borrowing money. What it meant was I had the ability to talk to them, make them understand what we needed to do, and solve our problems.
And finally, why should voters vote for you?
Well, as I said, my experience separates me. Well, mainly what's going to happen is I have that experience, and when I get to Springfield, I'm going to be able to start working as soon as I get there. I've made contacts, I understand the process, and I think I can go down there and start working immediately, because we need to make change. Are things in the state of Illinois going to turn around overnight? No. But if we don't start now, we'll get so far behind, we'll never be able to turn it around. Can I promise you one thing? Yes, I can. I will work as hard as I can. Can I promise you that all these things that I think we can do are going to get done? No, I can't promise you that, but I'll work as hard as I can to fix as many problems as possible, because we need to start now, or we will never get our state turned around and have it be great like it once was. Thank you for your questions. I ask for your support tomorrow, March 15th, so I can be your state representative. And together, we can make this state something that we can be proud of once again.